Good morning, Dan Toops here with Better Thinking, Better Living. It's this Saturday morning, it's quiet in the house, and I'm sitting here talking to you and sipping on a cup of hot community coffee. Community coffee, the #1 selling coffee in Louisiana. Community coffee. Go online and buy some today. I hate commercialism, but it does pay the bills. So we are talking about 5 touches to a better me. Talked about the first touch every day that we should make to impact our life in a positive way, and that is talking to God, touching God, and getting in touch with that spiritual side of us, releasing that spiritual essence inside of us, that divine nature, getting in touch with that. The second touch that I want to talk to you about right now is touching our family, touching my family. That is the second touch that I should do every day. Outside of my relationship with God, my #1 relationship with any group of people is my relationship with my family. And more specifically, there is no relationship more important to me on the face of this earth than the relationship that I have with my wife. The Apostle Paul wrote, "Husbands, love your wives." Now that sounds like it should be easy to do, but sometimes it's something you have to choose to do. It's not a feeling, it's something that you choose to do. And I must let my wife know every day that I love her, that I appreciate her, and that I need her in my life. I've heard the story of about a man and his wife that went in for counseling, and the wife said to the counselor, "He never tells me he loves me." And to which the man replied, "I told you 50 years ago, and if I'm going to change my mind, I'll let you know." That's not the kind of love that I want to experience with my wife. I want to love my wife, not because I'm commanded to scripturally, but I want to love my wife because I want to love my wife. I want her to be the center of my life, and I want that to be something that holds us together and binds us together. We've built a life together, and we're going to be celebrating 28 years of marriage here pretty soon. And maybe I might be coming up for parole. But somebody told me marriage is a life sentence. But you know what? It's a sentence that I can live with. I've been with this woman for nearly 28 years, and every day I'm discovering something new about her. She hasn't figured me out, and I've not figured her out. But you know what? I think that's the way it's supposed to be. And that I can love her in spite of all of her idiosyncrasies, and it just amazes me how she can stay with me with all of mine. Second to my relationship with my wife is my relationship with my kids. And when I say my kids, I'm talking about my son Dwayne, and you'll be hearing more from Dwayne here on Better Thinking, Better Living, because he's going to be partnering with me and doing some videos as well. And my daughter-in-law Crystal. That's my son and my daughter-in-law, and I love them with all my heart. My role with Dwayne has changed from the time that he was born till now. You know, being the father of an infant, the father of a toddler, the father of a school-age kid, a high school graduate, and now a father to a man that has a wife and his own kids. And I'm trying to provide him something that I never had in my life, and that was a solid male role model. And Crystal, I love her as she was my own daughter. She's brought a lot of spice to our family. She's Mexican-American, and she's brought a lot of color into our house, into our family. And I just love it, and I love it. And thirdly is my relationship with my grandchildren. That's Lennon, my grandson, and McCartney, my granddaughter. Yes, their names have musical influences on them, and perhaps one day they'll have a writing collaboration that will equal their namesakes. But for right now, they're my 2 little monkeys, and I love them with all my heart. And I'm providing something there for them that I didn't have. And that is grandparents that were actively involved in my life. Now, my wife grew up with it. My wife is Cajun, and one of the prerequisites of being a Cajun is you have to be related to your next door neighbor. Well, my wife was related to neighbors on both sides. She had both grandparents living within 50 feet of her house. So she had Agnes and Jesse in the backyard, and Sydney and Estelle next door. And she grew up in that kind of atmosphere where it was generational, right there, and family, aunts, uncles, being actively involved in her life. And I want to provide that to my grandchildren every day. And the key to it all, to loving my family and touching my family, is offering them unconditional love. Unconditional love. And I think the reason that this is resounding so much in my life right now is I have seen over the past few years friends of mine who's had a falling out with their parents because of some issues, lifestyle choices, religious beliefs, different things. And I don't know if I could sever my relationship with my children based upon these things. I don't want to be selfish. I want to be self-giving, self-sacrificing for my family. And I want them to feel that. I want them to know that. When my son Dwayne was a small boy, every evening I would lie in bed with him and tell him a story. And when we would conclude the story and I was getting ready to get off to bed myself, I would tell him, "Dwayne, I love you." And Dwayne would say, "I love you." And I would say, "But I love you." And he'd say, "But I love you," emphasis on the love. Finally, I said, "I love you more." He would say, "I love you more." And this would escalate back and forth until finally I would just say, "I love you big as the world." And Dwayne would say, "I love you big as the world and 24 miles. I mean, how can you top that? That's big love. And my grandkids, I've started something new with them every day. I tell them that I love them no matter what. I'm not going to put any conditions on my love. I'm not going to put any restrictions on my love, because when it comes down to it, no matter who they are, what they become, or what they do, they're still my family. And I'll still love them. And I'll support them. May not agree with everything they do. May not believe that everything they do is right. But I have an obligation to stand behind them no matter what and let them know that I support them. And let that love take root and effect in their life. I want to leave a good example to them. The Apostle Paul also wrote, "Fathers, do not provoke your children to wrath." Meaning, don't set a bad example to your kids that they turn out bad. I don't want my kids to hang their head in shame when people mention me. I want them to be proud of the example that I set for them. And hopefully, if I do a good enough job, that they'll pass that example along. That's what I want. Amen. Well, that's better thinking and better living. And this is Dan Toop saying, I'll see you next time.